This video is to answer the question as to why the single save window flags items as requiring save when there is no obvious modification to the file. One of the reasons this can happen is due to CAD parameter mapping. If a mapped field is modified in DDM but hasn't been updated in the CAD environment, the file will be marked as requiring a save. For more information on CAD parameter mapping, please see the video in the link below. The scenario we're going to look at now is specifically related to the SolidEdge environment. So to demonstrate the issue, I've got some example assemblies. So we'll load that into SolidEdge. In this scenario, we're going to review this subassembly. And we're going to have a look at one of the components. Now we've opened these parts and reviewed them, if I return to the top level assembly and in DDM start the single save process, although I made no changes to those components, I'm told that not only does the top level assembly require saving because I select the save option, but the subassembly and the part that I opened now require saving. Now the key point here is, although I didn't modify them, I did open them, and I left them open during the start of the save process. SolidEdge treats these files as modified if they are left open. The reason for this is that a user could have modified the part, but because they haven't closed the window, SolidEdge can't identify that the file has or hasn't been modified. So to prevent the loss of data, SolidEdge marks these as modified. We now close these parts and we clear the working directory. And we'll go through the process again. So loading our assembly into SolidEdge, and again we will open the subassembly and we will open the component for review, but this time we will close the part and the subassembly, returning to the top level assembly, and if we save this again, we can see this time only the top level assembly that we've selected for save requires saving. Now the reason this has happened is because we closed the windows for the other parts that we opened, so now SolidEdge can identify whether a change has or hasn't occurred. In this case, no change occurred. So that is one way of dealing with this issue. But again, if we cancel that save and we close the assembly, but this time we're not going to clear the working directory. Instead, we're going to go into Open and Browse. And if we navigate to our top level assembly, we can see we've got a few options available to us here. The ones we're interested in are the Open as Read Only and All Levels. And we can save that as default. If we continue to load this part in, we can see now on the top right we have the read-only assistant. So this time, if I open the subassembly, if I open the component, then I return to the top level and select save. Again, we are only prompted with the top level assembly. Now the reason for that is because they are read-only, SolidEdge already knows that we can't modify it, therefore no changes occurred, so that there is no need to save those items. If we cancel that again, and we return to our part. Now this is obviously useful just from a viewing purpose, but you may want to make changes to a part if you set this as your default. And we can do that by selecting the read-only assistant, and we can request checkout, at which point the warning is gone and we now have the ability to modify the part. So again, if we return to our top level and select save, we can now see that the top level assembly requires saving because that's the file we selected for save, but only the subpart that we requested for checkout now requires saving because we actively requested the ability to change it. So now SolidEdge has marked this as requiring save. If I cancel this save, again, close all of our files and clear my working directory. And we return to DDM and we reload the same assembly. Because I set those items as the default state, we can see that our assembly has loaded in the read-only state. And again, if we open up the subpart, it's still in the read-only state. So using this method means that users have to make a conscious decision when they want to make a change to a component, so this should reduce the number of unnecessary requests for save. So this is a fail-safe protection in SolidEdge to make sure that you don't lose anything that you might have modified in SolidEdge that hasn't yet been saved. So it logically makes sense as to why this occurs. Using the read-only mode is a way to ensure unnecessary prompts aren't caused. Be sure to review any other processes before implementing this change. If you regularly use automated tools that open and modify or save parts and drawings, such as the Action Client or Version Updater, you may need to switch off this default setting to allow the automated process to work and to allow the automated process to make changes to files. Please remember to review the CAD parameter mapping video in the link below.